Right, so if I asked you what the greatest failure of Israel in Gaza could possibly be, perhaps the fact they have razed the entire Gaza Strip repeatedly from north to south and back again in the name of trying to eliminate Hamas, and failing to do so might be one thing that springs to mind. What if I told you that their failure to do that is massively, epically bigger than what you might think? You see, not only have Hamas not been eliminated, not only has taking out their leaders from Ismail Haniyeh to Yahya Sinwar not made the scantest bit of difference in the grand scheme of things, but Hamas have even been able to rebuild, and not just rebuild, but recruit thousands upon thousands of new recruits to fight for their cause. Now, nothing, of course, excuses the violations and war crimes Hamas have committed, but the mere fact Israel are going over that ground over and over again, and actually Hamas have managed to not just hang on, but recover in large numbers, speaks volumes of how big Israel's utter failure is. They've seemingly done more to recruit for Hamas than successfully destroy them. But should we really be surprised at that when you consider what it means to be a Gazan living in Gaza, not just these last 15 months, but particularly these last 15 months? And perhaps one big reason why Hamas's recruitment has been so successful is because people there feel they've nothing left to live for. Right, so despite Israel ostensibly invading Gaza under the auspices of wiping out Hamas, rendering them so damaged that they could never rebuild again after the events of October 7th, and obviously what we've borne witness to since being far beyond that, a genocide against every human being living in the Strip, with no distinction drawn, seemingly, between civilian and fighter, they have completely failed to do that, therefore. No matter how many leaders of Hamas have fallen, they have remained. And to compound Israel's complete and utter failure even more, the complete opposite, it seems, has been happening, because instead of destroying Hamas, Israel's actions seem to have not been a better recruitment tool for Hamas if they could have wanted one. We shouldn't really be surprised at that, I suppose. Every life in the Gaza Strip has been disrupted, displaced, and in too many cases destroyed. 45,000 people killed and well over 100,000 injured. Diplomatic routes to find a solution have failed every time. More ceasefire talks are ongoing again now, only for Israel to be moving their red lines again, as they have every single other time there's been ceasefire talks before, to see such negotiations fail. No hope is what the world offers. No change. No end to the atrocity. It's little wonder, then, when asked, roughly half of all of Gaza's children have said they want to die, rather than continue to live through absolute hell. A hell which could be stopped if evil men chose to stop it. But they don't. So in that case, what exactly do the people of Gaza have to live for? If all are doomed to die, how are they choosing to go out in that case? Quietly into the night, or going out fighting? What would you do in their shoes? I mean, let's just look at what's happened in Gaza over the last 24 hours or so, in case you can't decide what you would do if you were in their shoes. In the northern Gaza Strip, Jabalia continues to be a military focus of Israeli attacks. 13 Gazans were killed in one house there, 10 in another, including a baby. 6 were killed in the street, and all the while the IDF continues to destroy residential blocks and houses, because functionally that is all that is still standing in Gaza. Also in the north lies Gaza City, of course, or what is left of it. And the story is much the same, as Israel seeks to drive every person still in the north of Gaza south, to render the north uninhabited and uninhabitable. 4 people were killed in Gaza City in one house in Al-Daraj. 5 were killed in another house. 4 generations of the same family, as it happens. 6 more Gazans were killed in a bombing near a school, still in Al-Daraj, amongst them a doctor from the Baptist hospital. IDF aircraft strafed the Musab bin Amer mosque in Al-Zatoun, and another Gazan was killed as another mosque in the same area, the Salah al-Din mosque, was also attacked. Multiple houses across Sheikh Radwan were shelled. 3 more people were killed in an Israeli raid on the refugee camp of al-Shati, and several shells fell on the Al-Zatoun schools of Ain Jalut and Hassan al-Banna. In central Gaza, because nowhere in Gaza hasn't been hit in the last 24 hours, the Maghazi camp was struck, killing 4, whilst forced displacement of people from the Al-Barej camp happened, and a war crime, as we know that is now, and that area was shelled as well to make people move. 1 Gazan was killed and several were wounded trying to secure what little aid remained in the Al-Nazirat camp, trying to protect it from bandits who are becoming an ever-increasing additional threat to the people of Gaza. And in southern Gaza, 3 people have been killed as a house again was targeted by the IDF, this time in Khan Yunis. 2 more were killed in a tent east of Khan Yunis, and 3 were killed in a drone attack in the Al-Zahor district of Rafah. Rafah itself also being the scene of more shelling. The target there? Well, you've probably guessed it by now. There's been a bit of a theme. Yet more houses. It's all the IDF have left to shoot at and destroy. It's all people have left, and for most, they don't even have that. That was just the last 24 hours in Gaza, so what would you do? Little surprise to my mind, therefore, that Hamas have successfully been recruiting. And not just a few, but thousands. And when it is an Israeli report spelling all of this out, it's hardly a pro-Hamas thing to say either. It's not that kind of a report. The Cradle carried the story as well, one of very few outlets prepared to, it seems, as this excerpt explains. Hamas's military wing, the Qassam brigades, has recruited thousands of new resistance fighters into its ranks in the Gaza Strip and is adapting to the harsh conditions it faces in battles with Israeli troops, who continue to suffer from exhaustion and mental disorders, according to Hebrew reports on the 18th of December. Hamas has recruited some 4,000 new operatives for the military wing in recent months, Israeli news site Walla reported on Wednesday, citing sources in the military's southern command. They continue to operate in an unusual manner in terms of methods of operation against the army. In some places, Hamas has adapted itself to fighting against the forces in the southern Gaza Strip, the sources added. The report adds that throughout the war, Qassam Brigade's fighters have been able to evade intelligence and foiling operations. Mohammed Sinwar, Qassam Brigade's military leader and brother of late Hamas chief Yahya Sinwar, and Commander Izz al-Din Haddad are the 2 leaders directing the Palestinian resistance group's operations, according to the news site. They have been very careful not to expose themselves. Recent days have seen a reignition of fierce battles in Gaza as Hamas's military wing rebuilds its ranks. Al-Qassam Brigade's statement, released on Wednesday, said a resistance fighter managed to kill an Israeli soldier near his tank and seize his weapon before throwing 2 grenades into the Merkava. The operation took place in the northern city of Beit Lahia. The group also announced targeting an Israeli troop carrier with an explosive device and killing 5 soldiers point blank in North Gaza's Jabalia. Meanwhile, the Israeli army is exhausted, depleted and psychologically damaged by the war that has been ongoing for over a year and fierce ground battles. Hamas are reorganizing, have new leadership it seems, are adopting new tactics, are moving around, and Israeli soldiers are fed up, demoralized, damaged, not showing back up for duty, just want to go home. Their heart isn't in this anymore. All in an Israeli report. I'm reminded that Donald Trump wanted Gaza sorted before he comes to power in January. It's partly why there was renewed hope going into this latest round of ceasefire talks, which are reaching that critical point where they generally go south. And go south they will, again, because Netanyahu's right-wing coalition partners won't accept ending things in Gaza. Until the settlers they are beholden to can move into Gaza, there can be no peace, because occupation is absolutely the end game. All of this push and pull in Israel's government, combined with a refusal to lie down and die by now an increasing number of people in Gaza, who have nothing left to lose, points to things not calming down and not quietening down anytime soon. And that is despite Hamas actually having made significant additional concessions to Israel in those ceasefire talks, including acquiescing to Israel actually remaining in parts of the Gaza Strip. Now, perhaps that's a move to call Netanyahu's bluff when he inevitably pulls the rug out from under these latest rounds of negotiations. Maybe. We'll have to wait and see. But get all the details of that story as far as we know it in this video recommendation here as your suggested next watch. Please do also hit like, share and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so, and help support the channel. It's enormously appreciated, and I will hopefully catch you on the next vid. Cheers, folks.